beautiful beach day today. I enjoyed that while everyone else was at work. I took my family. We had a blast. Back at the set in order for you to hear about why smart people are not very successful. Now, let's describe those two words first. What is defined by smart in the way that we're going to talk about it today in terms of the context, and what is my definition as successful, okay? So, smart in this context is someone who is superior than the vast majority of people because of certain skill sets that he's acquired. He knows almost the answer to everything. He understands what's happening in the markets. He understands what's happening in the news. He's just a perfect, high-level, middle-class person. That's what I'm describing as smart at this point in time, because everyone around him looks to him as someone who is smart. But he's not very successful. Okay, so let's go back into what I mean by very successful. Success really at the end of the day is someone who enjoys their life to a massive percentage. And they're just fired up all of the time. They have time and money freedom and understand people skills and as well how money works. And to be honest with you, they're also entrepreneurs. They've built a business that created passive income for them, and they've been able to create tons of businesses and are enjoying life. Let's get back to understanding what I mean by someone who is smart and why they're not very successful based on the definitions that I just gave. Number one, it is that they have been smart their entire lives, okay? How do I know? Because I was one of them, okay? And in many ways, this is what has hindered my massive progression towards success in entrepreneurship, okay? So for all of you guys out there who think that you're fantastically smart, very often you're not smart, right? Unfortunately, that's kind of was the situation with me. But if you believe that, man, you've got so much to learn and you feel kind of like doubting yourself and doubting the world and, man, am I capable of doing this? Then you're probably extremely smart, okay? Because those are the ones that actually make it. Those are the ones that are willing to continuously fail towards a brighter and better day. And eventually they do make it. But even once they've made it, they are still filled with self-doubt and not sure if they're going to make it because they set new goals. Every single goal that they crush, they set a new goal to move towards that one. And they're going to doubt themselves at every single level on their progression, on their journey. That's the kind of person you need to be. This keeps you humble. This keeps you meek. This keeps you teachable. And that is the most important trait that you need in business other than a massive work ethic. The willingness to work hard and the willingness to learn hard, right? Learn hard, okay, what I mean by that, basically learn fast. Learn, put in a lot of effort to learn from people, but there's no point in learning if you're not putting in the work, so you got to do both, right? Going back to smart people, throughout their entire youth, they crushed everyone in academics. I know because that's what I did. Straight A's throughout my entire schooling. This journey through school is one that I regret greatly. Okay, obviously couldn't do anything about it because my parents didn't know that I should have been homeschooled. But what happened was that I was just smarter than everyone in my class. I mean, there were some guys that were like hyper smart, okay? So some guys that, become mathematicians and stuff like that and are extremely good at math, whatever. But everything else than math, I was absolutely crushing it, okay? And as a result, I began to develop this superiority complex as part of my persona, you could say, that I felt better than my classmates, and I felt better than my siblings, and I felt better just in general. And that was a problem because, obviously I kept this up, but then I came to the point where I was going to start business after, once I started college. I was just like, I want to get rich. Like, I know I have potential to become rich because I got confidence, I'm smart, right? That's what I thought. And I can do this. Like, if other people can make it in business, so can I. And I'm going to make it huge, right? So this was my thinking, and I went into business trying to figure it out, and I was failing on my face on a continual daily basis. It wasn't even business, it was just sales in general, right? I got a sales job as a gym rep and had no idea how to sell to anyone. Like, they had bonuses that half of the people would get every single month, and I never qualified. I think I qualified once, one time when I had like massive momentum, and for some reason it was working, and I was gonna get married that month, and just like everything was like, yeah, I was crushing it. But bro, for 2.5 years, I pretty much never got bonuses. And that sucked because I was supposed to be the best. Like, literally the best. Why? Because I was smart. There's two things that you need to have in business in order for you to succeed. It's people skills and it's money skills. And if you don't have these two, you're going to absolutely and utterly struggle. Very often, smart people have high intelligence when it comes to IQ, and they can solve equations and solve, problems. But they very often have very low in social IQ, or what you call emotional IQ. They have a hard time reading the room. They have a hard time selling to people. They have a hard time leading a conversation or leading them to where we should all go together in order to create the win-win situation. This is how I've experienced it. And you can avoid this experience by humbling yourself and getting rid of that superiority complex as soon as possible if you think that you're one of those guys that are smart. Because if you think you're smart, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle for years, like me. And it's unnecessary, okay? You want to become successful, then the number one thing you got to do is believe that you're stupid. Believe that you are a fool. Believe that you do not have the answers and that other people actually do. And then maybe you can take those answers that those people have who's gone before you, and then you can improve upon these things because you don't quit as a smart person, right? You don't go back to your peer group and stay there with your high status, okay, as a high-paid middle-class person who needs to keep his job because that's safe and secure. Very often smart people hold on to safety and security, but I had that superiority complex, felt that I was smart, but then I faced my demons, so to speak, in business to the point where I began to humble myself, okay? Now, I still got a long ways to go, but you got to understand that I've learned a lot in my journey in business, and as a result, I'm able to use the smarts that I had in the past to create solutions for people's problems in a way that actually a lot of people were not able to before, or a lot of people are not able to right now as my competitors. I have an advantage because I now am able to use the smarts and the emotional intelligence together, which forms a superpower. So if you are one of those guys that are actually super smart and you manage to humble yourself with meekness, with teachability from those, to learn people skills and money skills from those guys that have gone before you and business skills, you're going to completely and utterly crush all of your competition. The only thing you have to learn to be smart with are people skills, money skills, but then understanding consistency. Understanding that if I just do these small itty bitty things and do them again and again and again and just run the numbers, I will become a massive, huge success. If you think about the smartest people on the planet are the actual richest people on the planet. But now I'm combining the smart of IQ, but combining it with the other emotional intelligence part, right? They had to develop that. I'm talking about the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos of the world, right? There's very few of them who've actually mastered both aspects because they had to work with people. They were not smart with people when they started out their careers. Trust me. You can actually look up, their biographies if there are any, and there should be, and you'll figure out that they weren't people. But they had to become people once they became part of teams and had to lead teams because they were the smartest people in the room and they knew how to solve these equations, and they had to figure out how to lead these people. because they had all these problems that I also had in my beginning part of my business journey. The cool part is that those guys who are smart and figure out the stuff about, teachability and all this stuff end up becoming the most powerful people on the planet. I'm not necessarily saying that I will, but I could. I could, because I understand this concept. This video, I highly recommend that you rewatch it again and again to understand, which person am I? Am I the person that's going to make it despite not being smart? Because you can get to extreme levels with that as well. Because you're relatable. You got people skills. People like you because you're a peer, in the business world. So I'm saying all of this so that you understand why smart people are not very successful. They usually stay put in their middle class status environment of being high paid middle class people that poor and middle class come to and ask for advice, and then they get horrible advice from them. These smart people, the vast majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, right? The 0.1 percenters, they're the ones that actually built the business and became massive successes, okay? So you can't talk about those guys. We're talking about the smart guys now that are 99.9% of the people who are smart, very smart, high-paid individuals that got skills as employees, but they're not leaders. And if they are leaders, they're leaders in management positions, making, maybe they're making 10K, maybe 15K, but that's it. And that's how it's going to stay. And they manage maybe to invest, and they end up, looking good in front of other middle-class people and poor people because they drive fancy cars and they're doing pretty well for themselves. But they will tell you to get a college education. Now, is that actually really smart? Right? So it makes you think, are the smart people actually really smart? And I beg to differ. I beg to say that they are actually not very smart because they didn't manage to combine their their smartness from an IQ perspective with the aspect of emotional intelligence that is required in order for you to spend less money, for you to have people skills with other people and not the superiority complex, but that's people, around their peer group still kind of connect with, right? Because they're relatable, because they're not up there in the stratosphere when it comes to business and such. Which one do you want to be, right? Do you want to be a middle-class smart person? Or do you want to be the massive, that guy up there who combines intelligence, okay, IQ intelligence, being smart, with EQ, emotional intelligence, and understanding how the world works, how business works, how people work, and how money works so that you can become a billionaire. Because you can. Nothing's stopping you. But you got to understand these concepts. Most importantly, you got to put in the 80-hour work week. Because guess what? The 80-hour work week is something that smart people are not willing to do. Smart people don't do the 80-hour work week because they're like, no, it's better for me to be highly paid per hour. So I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a master's degree, and maybe I'll get a PhD, and then I'll get my job, and I'll make a lot of money. And they're stuck at 5, 8K, 10K, 12K, 15K a month if they're a coder, right? Programmers have this issue where they just can't communicate with people properly, but they're highly paid individuals. And guess what? People come to them for advice about success because they're driving around in a fancy car. But that's just not what success is. Success is understanding the world and as a result, being able to produce abundance in every category of life, and especially the ones that are most important to you. And trust me, it's not about having status amongst the middle class and the poor. You understand that the riches of the rich want status amongst the rich of the rich of the rich. That's a different ball game altogether. And the vast majority of people will never understand that game and that level of caring about what other people think up there. And that's where I recommend that you put your mind towards. You can do this. You can actually create an amazing lifestyle for yourself if you just follow the principles that I pretty much outline on this channel. This is basically Hormozy principles, but just put in very simple terms. Although he's extremely simple as well, but he just focuses more on the business aspect of things, while I focus more on the individual startup business of things. And it's the exact same stuff because it's practical. It's easy to, like, it's easy to understand. It's very simplified based on our years and years of business experience. And obviously he's massively, hugely more successful than I am, but it's the same principles. And I just give it to you in very simple terms, and I allow you to participate in the community that I've created for $199 per month, and it's freaking awesome. I want to help you. I want to get you the success that you desire. I'm fired up for you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.